Behind the Shades.
I'm wondering how much is being missed when we um, feed a child through breastfeeding or a bottle. I know when I was looking into it, I always saw many. I don't know if the research is still the same, but I know there's articles being written that the bond is different when you're breastfeeding versus bottle feeding.
Um, so it is. So I use this from experience too. My first nursed until she was 4.5. Couldn't get her off. My second, he latched fine. At 4 months, he was done and blindsided me because I was like, we're good. We're just going along here. And he wanted nothing to do with me. He preferred the bottle. And I can say that that transition was really hard because I felt rejection and rejected. But once we got going and we were good with the bottle, like he still prefers me. I'm still a mama's boy. He's a mama's boy. He literally tells my husband, like, I love mama more, which is sad, but funny at the same time. So I had that fear and that was unfounded. I think what happens is the wait, or I let me start with what used to happen. I'll tell you a story that my husband's grandma, she's in her 90s, shared with us. She had 5 boys in the 50s. And she described, first of all, that they made their own formula from like cow milk and syrup. And then they would take the bottle. She would just be like, oh, yeah, I would just prop the newborn up on its side, put a towel under the bottle, put the bottle in the baby's mouth and walk away. Like, of course, that is going to affect a bond, right? Because they wouldn't, answer cries. Like, you're going to be more attuned to your baby when you're with your baby. So I don't think it's uniquely the bottle experience itself. It's that if you have the ability to walk away from your child and maybe everyone else is feeding your baby and you're not feeding your baby, that dynamic is going to be different. It doesn't mean that you're going to love your child any less, but it means that you may not be quite as in tune to the very, very subtle changes that you might see in that nursing dynamic. Because also, what you don't see or understand, like when a mom, have you heard the term engorged before? Engorgement? Okay. So when a mom is engorged, it feels like you have to go to the bathroom from your breast. Like it physically hurts. And so that's what you also mean by in tune is you need your child to nurse so that you feel more comfortable. And so it's a very codependent relationship. So let's take, like maybe it's not, someone isn't fully formula feeding, but they're exclusively pumping. So that dynamic is still somewhat there, but a little distanced because, they are on a pump schedule that doesn't necessarily match when their child eats. And so each step out is going to be a little more disconnected, but it doesn't mean that you have no bond with your child, if that makes sense or helps.
It
Because
does. It clarifies it for me because I'm learning as I go along.
Good.
Because there's going to be a time where I may be in that situation, and I want to make sure that I am there for my wife and ultimately there for my child. And it helps to debunk and to
Mhm.
some of the misconceptions and to break down some of the barriers that maybe many men like myself experience because we don't know the firsthand details until we're either in that situation or we're trying to say, okay, my wife needs me. What am I going to do? We're trying to run
Right.
around. And one thing that I always wanted to understand, and I'm glad you touched on it, is when that um, latching and the breastfeeding stops, is there anything that needs to be done to maybe us to continue to assist the mother? Because if it's earlier, as you mentioned, than she expected, she may feel rejection. She may feel some emotional response to the child, especially if there's two where one was 4.5 years and the other one's 4 months.
Yes. So um, there is emotional need there. Weaning at any stage or age, I think I talk a lot about is the grief of it, because I think that a lot of moms, even if they want, like they're done nursing, they're so tired of it, there's a grief process of losing that relationship and knowing that relationship is over, because it is a special relationship. And I will say bond that no one else has with your child. I think that's what it is, that especially once you get past that newborn stage and you get into more, and they get eating food. And so the dynamic becomes a little different. And it's less about, I need to keep this baby alive through nutrition, which is a huge responsibility and pressure we put on ourselves to do. But it becomes emotional. It's that they fall, right? They're learning to walk and they fall and they cry and you can comfort them. It's they can't go to sleep, so you comfort them. It becomes this superpower. And it can be jarring to lose that power. And so being there emotionally, I remember when I was fully done nursing and I walked out of the room and just started bawling. And my husband tried to comfort me, but I could also tell he just didn't get it. He's like, but you're done. Like, finally. And so it's very bittersweet. And so I think just being aware and watching your partner, the mother, how she's doing. Does she seem especially sad? And this is kind of throughout the whole thing. What I say also is that connection can, if you are nursing resentfully with an older child because you don't know how to stop, or even in the first year, if you are doing it in a depressed state, that is going to hurt and harm your bond with your child more than just continuing nursing or introducing a bottle, right? So to me, the mental health of the mother and that affecting the bond is more important than the bottle itself. A lot of the research and the historical data that comes up about the need for exclusive nursing and the problem with formula actually dates back to the 70s when there was research done on Nestle. And Nestle was marketing their formula to third world countries that did not have the ability to clean they didn't have sanitized water, and they didn't have the ability to clean the bottles. And babies were dying because of it. So it's when there's such a push now here about the benefits of nursing. There are benefits, of course, to breast milk. But when we're talking about it here, it's still going to be a different subject because we do have the ability to sanitize our bottles, to make sure we have the money to access, although obviously income is an issue, and there's a whole discrepancy here. If you're a white wealthy woman, you're much more likely to exclusively nurse than you were if you were a lower income person on WIC. And they push formula there too. And so there are so many issues, right? And so many different conflicting things coming into play here that you have to be aware of coming in, that you are battling. And it's so, so hard to navigate that.